In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Welcome back, Tech Zone. Second segment of the show. If you missed any part, you can always check it out. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. Connect with me, paulamadeuslane.com. We're talking about E3 recap. In particular, the Microsoft Xbox briefing and the Sony PlayStation briefing. What did I think about it? What did my great friend Tony Polanco think about it? Well, let's ask him right now. Now, I told you I was going to have him on last show. I said I'm going to get him on this week to have our E3 recap. He's been busy writing a whole lot of stuff for Geek.com, some great articles. My man, the Dominican Dominator, Tony Polanco. What's up, bro?
Paul, I'm like your co-host at this point, man.
You are, man. You're like my gaming co-host, man. It's like, man, I got to get you to CES with me in Vegas next year, man. You can help me out with some interviews on the tech sphere, man. That'd be bananas, man.
Yeah, man. But as always, man, I'm happy to be on the Tech Zone talking to you about games, man. The thing we love so much.
Tell me about it, man. We finally got back from E3 about a week ago, and it's like, man, I'm still like buzzing from the things that I seen, watched, and experienced with you. And I wanted to talk about two press conferences in particular. That was the Sony press conference and also the Microsoft Xbox press conference. Now, what were some of the things when it came to the Microsoft press conference that really stood out in your mind as far as the presentation, just as far as that, how everything went down?
Yeah, I mean, as always, Microsoft always delivers a pretty straightforward presentation. No real frills this time around. They got straight to the point. Games. The biggest thing I took away from it was the fact that they acquired a lot of studios now, a lot of independent studios, and they also mentioned that they have a new system coming. I wrote an article about this where I basically said this conference was pretty much setting up the future of Xbox. As I've said before, I believe that the Xbox One as a system, not the Xbox brand, just the Xbox One as a system, is effectively like dead, right? I mean, I know there's games coming out even today. They announced how State of Decay 2 was the number one selling game of May, but for all intents and purposes, the system is not going anywhere. So Microsoft is now trying to look to the future, get people excited about it. And as you know, new hardware also presents a refresh, basically, like a do-over. Xbox brand definitely needs that, and I think with the studios they've acquired, I think they definitely have a chance to do that because, as you know, gaming, it takes a long time to make a game. If they acquire these studios now and the system comes out in maybe 2 or 3 years, that should be enough time for us to see some of these games either at launch or close to launch.
That's true. That is so true. And I remember the press conference, you and I were sitting by each other, and it was like, and we have this studio, and we have that studio. It was like Oprah Winfrey, man, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I'm like, all these independent, studios, man, they got some comeuppance, man, being backed by Microsoft and everything. Some of the games too. I know you and I were like going crazy over Forza, and there was some other games too, Cuphead, just a lot of things. And one of the things that stood out in my mind too about the press conference too, and you and I kind of talked about this, and I was like, why didn't they say anything about the Xbox accessible controller? And I asked Bryce Johnson about it, and Bryce is head of over there, the inclusion accessibility. And I said, Bryce, why Phil didn't say anything about that? Bryce said, like what you said, they just wanted to focus on games. And they kind of gave a silent shout out when they was playing Forza. Remember, we said they were the controller there. So it was like a silent shout out. And I'm glad that Bryce brought that up. But, when it comes to the games that are coming out now, are we getting to the point now, Tony, where there's so many games coming out? Who's going to have time to play them all? I mean, what's your take on that? All these different games.
Yeah, and this goes for every system. It's just a ton of games. Like a lot of the games that we saw this year are actually coming out at the end of the year. I don't know, man. Like I was thinking about that as I'm writing all this. I'm like, how am I going to have time to, play all these games, to cover them, and even just to play them for enjoyment? I mean, just off the top of my head, this fall, we got the new Call of Duty, we got Assassin's Creed, we got so many games coming out of Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously. it's nuts, man. But I guess that's the life we chose to cover all these games. But even if you're a regular like consumer, right? I'm like, how are you gonna have enough money to buy all these games, and two, enough time to play all these games? Because most of the gamers that are now, they're adults, they got families, they got responsibilities, so it's going to be interesting, especially because of the fact that a lot of the games that are coming out are very big open world games, 100-hour games. It's like, how do you even get the time to play something like that?
It's true, and I'm hoping that the gaming developers and the communities come up with this model of subscription pay. Pay so much a month where you're able to play, as many games as you want. So it won't be like a pinch in your pocketbook trying to buy 5 or 6 games a month, but charge an amount that's fair for both sides and just have people go at it. And I think that will help because let's face it, not everybody's going to buy every game that's out. So there's going to be some games that's going to suffer. Some games are going to be a top seller. But if you do it this way, I think everybody gets kind of like a piece of the pie, kind of like, satellite TV. Not everybody watches the same, all the channels on satellite. There's some that don't get any viewers, but they're in the package. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I don't know if you're talking about a streaming service, because
streaming service, streaming.
See, the problem with that, and you're a tech guy, so you know this better than I do. Basically, our infrastructure in America is not very good compared to other countries. We're actually very, very far back. So even if we really, really want to move to a streaming future, it's gonna be very difficult to have all these games available to people, in the correct resolution and without any without any stoppage or whatever, with any hiccups along the way. The infrastructure in this country is not to us up. We're kind of okay in the big cities like Los Angeles and New York, but what if you live in the middle of the country, right? And your internet may not be that great. A streaming service may not be feasible for you. So there's still a lot to that we can do. I know some other countries have great internet because they're smaller countries, but America's large, so it'll be very difficult to implement. I'm not against that, the digital future, because they would be cheap if you pay, even if, let's just say for sake of argument, even if you pay $60 a month or something, right? That's still cheaper than buying like 4 games a month. So it would be great, but I still think right now, at the moment, it's still a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, and we talk about this on the tech side too, especially at CES. We always talk about how America's infrastructure when it comes to internet is just like super slow, and it really, America has a technology to have fiber optics throughout the whole United States. They have that capability just because of the way the technology is. And it would be nice if they jumped on that, because imagine just how blazing fast things would be when it comes to, internet, writing stories, streaming stories and everything. It would just make things a lot better. But I definitely get your point of that. Yeah, because let's say if it was $60 a month too. For 12 months, that's what, $720 a year, and on an average, how many games do the average consumer buy? Like you said, maybe 4, maybe 5, depending on the gamer. But yeah. So maybe, Tony, maybe one of these days, man, we'll get that streaming. It'll be nice. But if not, it's like I really want to follow the story about which games are not really trending when it comes to gaming, and kind of find out why. Talk to Fanboy, talk to, is it a marketing standpoint? It's just they just don't like the gameplay. I want to stay on top of that and really find out, what's going on with that, the norm.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like kind of under the radar games, it's just like independent movies, right? People don't really follow those. I know they definitely have their following or whatever, right? But people like the big AAA stuff, the Call of Duties, the Grand Theft Autos, the Fortnites. They like the big stuff. So, unfortunately, those smaller games that we got to experience at E3, they always kind of get lost on the shelf. It's funny you mentioned that, because I actually just got an article published today where I actually did spotlight some of the smaller games that were shown. I'm talking about games like Captain Spirit, Underworld Ascendant, the Overkill Walking Dead game, Bloodstained, Indivisible. There's a lot of good stuff out there that I'm sure more people would like, but again, their attention is so focused on the bigger stuff that unfortunately, they do get lost in the shuffle. So it's kind of up to gamers to look for this stuff and see what they like out there.
Now, if there was something talking about the Xbox briefing now, again, if there was something that you wish they would have did more of, what would that be? Or was everything like great? Like, how this is the bomb? I have no criticism.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I didn't think about that. Yeah, I think you might be right. I think for the most part, they did an excellent job. I can't, even as you asked me this question now, I'm trying to think what could they have done better, and I can't really say anything, to be honest. It was a very straightforward, very focused, very deliberate press briefing, and I thought it was effective at getting the message out there. Xbox has games. Xbox will have games. Xbox will have a new system. Again, like just personally, would have been nice if they gave even 2 minutes to the Xbox Adapt controller, but just being objective about it, it was, it would probably was the best press conference they had out there in terms of the content and the way it was presented.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm like you too. If they would have just give a little 2-minute shout out to that to say, hey, we want to make gaming inclusive for all. Have everybody checked out our new controller. Bam, that's it. But it took, they could have had you up there announcing it, Tony. Being an accessible journalism and a gamer, man, accessible gamer, man, and a gaming journalist, man. I'm gonna make a push for that next year. All right.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be interesting.
Hey, but let's chat about now the PlayStation's Sony PlayStation's press conference. We got treated to something we've never seen before when it comes to press conference. I mean, it was like in two or three different phases, and that blew us all away, man. Because we go into this things that look like an old church building, and gosh, what was your first take when you and I first rolled up in there after I broke the lift getting up there?
Yeah, it was kind of strange because you're used to going to one place, sitting down and watching an entire show. So when we first got in there, I was like, okay, this is a very small place to have a press conference. It was decked out to look like a church and everything. They had, like a choir, like a pew, not a choir. They had a pew there. I'm like, because I honestly thought that was going to be the entire thing. I'm like, okay, now I understand why they had to reject a lot of journalists. There's just no room, right? And then, we saw the Last of Us, which looked excellent. And actually, before that, I'm kind of jumping ahead. They told us like, okay, we're going to exit you through here. And we're thinking, okay, they're going to exit us through there when this is over, in like 2 hours. No, after half an hour, we had to dip, I was like, okay, this is interesting. So we had to walk through this corridor that was decked out like a Japanese manor, obviously themed after Ghost of Tsushima. So then they took us to this other auditorium, which was more like a proper venue that we're used to for press conferences. And that is where we saw the majority of the show. But yeah, it was very interesting to, start the show in one area, move on to another. And then afterwards, obviously, we had the concert they were putting on, the Dreams concert. You and I checked out a little bit of that. And then obviously Sony, give us some food and all that. It was a very, cool experience. Like I'm talking about, even though I said objectively speaking, the Xbox conference was the best conference at E3. Personally speaking, the PlayStation conference was my favorite.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that because, after the press conference, they took us out to like a studio lot, where they film films at. So they had the backdrop of Spider-Man. They had the backdrop of Ghost of Tsushima. They actually had a Japanese area where they had Japanese food. And man, that grilled meat was the bomb, man. Yeah. They had New York. They had New York with dead rats. It was like awesome. And think about the gameplay that we saw and watch. Oh, by the way, Tony and I were sitting in the same row with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, my man was like 2 rows.
Yeah. He was like, cool. But and then the gameplay that we saw, the expanded play of Spider-Man, you got a chance to play Spider-Man too, man. And you wrote about it. And, and all in all, I just love, what's coming out in the gaming industry, just all the titles that we can choose from, even though some titles, there's a bunch of them out there, but I really kind of like what's going on with the titles. And Sony, to me, put on a great press conference as well too. We got a chance to hang out with Sean Layden, walking around, and that's one thing I really like about PlayStation. We give them a little shout out right quick too. And Microsoft does a good job of this too when it comes to disabled journalists. They make sure that we get in line, we get in our place. But it seems like PlayStation goes above and beyond, man. We had like a little concierge where they said, hey, if you guys need anything, you guys need water. Man, I felt spoiled, man. But it really showed how much they care about making gaming inclusive for all, man. And it was great sharing that opportunity and that experience with you, man.
Yeah, my only like slight complaint about the Sony thing was like, okay, because I'm from New York, right? And then they had this whole set looking like, you're like, yo, I just came all the way to LA to look at this, really?
Tony said, I tell you what it's all about in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. I left these taxis and hell out stands behind, man. I'm not trying to do this in LA, but we're joking aside, man. That great conference. I do, I can't talk about that conference without bringing up the fact that unfortunately, folks at home did not get the same experience that we did, right?
I know.
They had a 30-minute lull in there. And, when I got back, I was very surprised by the fact that a lot of people were complaining about it. But then when I found out, looked deeper into it, I'm like, oh, yeah. If I was at home watching this, I'd be complaining too, because you basically had The Last of Us shown, and then 30 minutes of like some ESPN type of thing going on.
Yeah.
The rest of it, and that was when they were shuffling this around. My proposed solutions to this, and it's kind of funny because it's just going back to what they did. Remember when they were having it at the Shrine Auditorium, where it was basically like a play, right? Like they would have different curtain acts and all that. Go back to that, so that way you don't have to shuffle us around. Don't get me wrong, I liked going around. It was kind of cool because again, I've never experienced that. But for the folks at home, you got to make it a uniform experience for the people that are there and the folks at home. So I hope in the future, wherever they decide to hold it, make it so we journalists are situated in one spot. That way, people at home could get the games, as fast as we did.
And you know what, too, would be great, too, if they do have the little break in action. Why not interview Hideo Kojima? Why not interview Sean Layden? Why not interview Sam Thompson? Interview some of the heavyweights in the gaming world. You know what I mean? And if they're going to do like the ESPN thing, fans would go bananas, hearing from Hideo Kojima. You know what I mean? Talk about what it's like being there. People will go bananas, some stars that are there. Hey, what are you doing here? What's your favorite game? And I think that would translate a little better than having like people they don't even know, on the screen, doing like a play-by-play. That's just my professional broadcast, opinion when it comes to that. But I definitely hear you. If fans want to have the same similar experience and you're not able to give them to them like we give it in live, have some other kind of optics out there to keep them engaged. Hey, if you tweet right now, we're gonna put you on the list to get the first copy of Last of Us. Do something like that, and I think people will be like, oh yeah, for real, word.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And it's like, okay, we got an exclusive experience. Why can't they get something exclusive? Like while we're shuffling around, they get something that's completely different. But again, I think it's just better to have the same uniform type of show for everybody. That way, nobody really misses out.
I hear you. Well said, my friend. So as we talk about our E3 experience and wrap it up, what is something that you haven't told the audience out there, your fans, about E3 that you wanted to tell them, and now you can tell them now because you're on with me?
Yeah, man, you're trying to get me in trouble because there's a bunch of stuff I do want to say, but I can't. You already know, man, some behind the scenes stuff. But I think for the most part, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I think I do a pretty good job of letting people know what's going on at E3 and all that. I think for the most part, actually, no, I will say this. Okay, and you know this too. If you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, there's a lot of fanboy nonsense going on. People fighting all the time, right? One of the things I love about E3 is that doesn't exist out there. People are just there to play the games, talk about the games, discuss the games. So I kind of wish that E3, like spirit, would permeate in the gaming community more, right? Because again, nobody's there. Nobody has a stake, in like whatever console's going to win or lose or whatever. We're just there to look at the games, talk to developers, get more insight into the, game development and all that. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. It's like E3 and the gaming community are weirdly two different worlds. And I kind of wish that the gaming community would, understand that, hey, listen, these guys, like, yeah, they may compete for different systems, but they're all friends at the end of the day. Phil Spencer and Sean Layden know each other. They're good buddies. You know what I'm saying? Even journalists that may write for different publications, we all talk to each other. We all hang out, right? So there is a definite sense of unity within the gaming community that you see at E3, but you unfortunately don't always see within, social media with the gamers.
Well said. And also, too, the panel that I moderated on Accessible Gaming, it was the first time that Microsoft and Sony PlayStation was on the stage together in like years. And we didn't even know that until after the fact. Sam Thompson and Bryce Johnson. And it really showed the love that they have for the gaming community and the mutual respect that they have. And you're spot on, man, and it's definitely, and, I got a chance to see, I forgot to mention this, Ghost of Tsushima, kind of a private screening. And they had the words in Japanese, no subtitles.
Oh wow!
And you talking about a sweet experience, man. I was like, whoa. I mean,
Yeah, I heard about that. Like they basically like you have the option. You either have the English the English language or just subtitles with Japanese words. That is really cool, man.
yeah, we actually saw the gameplay with Japanese in Japanese, and it was like it was a whole new different experience. And I hope they do that more when it comes to games and everything. And I don't mind hearing it in Japanese, reading English subtitles, because I mean I used to do it all the time watching old Godzilla movies and everything.
Yeah,
So,
that's right, man.
so
Hey, listen, Yakuza series already does that, so I think
Yeah.
people are used to it. You know.
Well said, my friend. So Tony, great catching up with you, the Dominican Dominator. How can ones find out more about you and that great writing style that you have, my friend?
All right. Obviously, go to my Twitter at Romudeth, ROMUDETH. I'm going to have links there to geek.com and my author page where you can see all the stuff I've been writing. I still got more coming, people, so get ready, man. A ton of content. And obviously, you can find me over on YouTube at Throwdown Show. That's the podcast that I host tonight. We're going to be talking about some of the things that kind of happened during E3, but weren't E3 related, especially this whole thing going on with Fortnite and crossplay with PlayStation. Very interesting situation. I may have an opinion that should be controversial. So my show is called Throwdown. We're going to live up to that moniker tonight because I think I'm going to be fighting with a bunch of my panelists, but it's all good, man. But yeah, man, check me out on Twitter. It's always a lot of fun. And obviously, Paul, I want to thank you for having me on, man. It's always great talking to you, and I love the fact that we collaborate so much.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to being on Throwdown one day too, man. I won't censor you guys, man. You guys go ahead and do your thing, man. I'll just offer my opinion and everything, so it's all good, man. I promise. I won't be like the nun of the. You guys can go ahead and do your thing, man. No problem. And you know what, too? Sean wanted me to have a show with you one day, so we can talk about that nonsense that came out about saying that excessive video gaming is categorized as this. So one of these days we're gonna do a whole show about that, and we're gonna talk about that because Sean requested it. He's like, you and Tony should really talk about this. So next time we get together, we're gonna talk about it.
Oh yeah, it's happening, bro. It's already happening.
Once again, love hanging out with my man Tony Polanco. Yeah, he's kind of like my gaming co-host. We have a lot of fun talking about what we're passionate about, and that's gaming. When we get back, actor Cass Anvar joins me and talk about that big decision of The Expanse being picked up by Amazon and the season finale that will happen this Wednesday. So we'll talk to him and catch up with him. Be right back.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.